Booker T. Professional wrestler, businessman, and part-time porn star. In 1997, Booker T called Hulk Hogan a nigga. This event has absolutely nothing to do with today's topic, Mortal Kombat. Alright Gregory, here's the idea of today's video. I'm going to be going through every installment of the titular, world-famous video gaming franchise of entertainment, Mortal Kombat, and giving my own personal descriptions of each brand new character from every installment. You got that? Alright, here we go! So before you hold my hand on this beautiful journey, I guess I should give you what should have been the actual intro to this video, but you know. So long ago, in a distant land, lived an ancient fuckboy named Frank Dux. He would basically lie and fabricate his entire life story about how he was a military man with multiple confirmed kills and how he fought in a deadly tournament called the Kumite. These were all lies, and the world basically responded to these lies by eating his entire dick. And a result of the aforementioned dick eating was a cult classic movie starring boy shorts connoisseur Jean-Claude Van Damme as Frank Dux. Two up-and-coming video game creators from Chicago named Simon and Garfunkel would want to make a video game adaptation of this movie. Long story short, some fuck shit happens and Jean-Claude Van Damme is all like, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." So Beavis and Butthead, left without a star for their video game, would have to end up making what would become Alright, let's get on with the actual fucking video. Let's start with the game that started it all, Mortal Kombat 1. Since we were talking about boy shorts, I guess we should talk about Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage is an all-American actor and an all-around cream fart man. He wears his beautiful, wicked, awesome fucking shades everywhere he goes, and he punches people in the dick. He's basically just Ed Boon and John Tobias' way of saying, "Hey, Jean-Claude Van Damme, fuck you!" Next up is Kano, a half-Chinese, half-American crime boss. If you're wondering why I didn't say he's Australian, it's because at this point in time, Ed Boon hadn't retconned that yet. Honestly, there's not much to say about this character. The Terminator exists, so he fucking exists. There's no substance here. Now our boy Raiden is the first good character of this game so far. He's the god of cock and balls, and he will fuck your shit up. My man has a wicked awesome rice hat, and he has a beautiful singing career with his #1 hit. Liu Kang is Bruce Lee. Scorpion is the first out of many ninjas to show up in Mortal Kombat. He's known mainly for his rope dart, teleportation, and unhydrated piss-stained costume. His original name was Hanzo Hasashi, until he was killed and came back as the ultimate edge master to steal all of your Monster Energy drinks. Blue Scorpion is the second of many ninjas to show up in Mortal Kombat. He's my personal favorite blue raspberry boy, and he's got the powers of ice. And he'll be the cause of most confusion when it comes to future Mortal Kombat games.
Ass, titties, ass and titties.
Alright, let's go to the next game. Our first new character of Mortal Kombat 2 is Kung Lao, and he's got a wicked awesome hat, and that's his entire personality. Next is Green Scorpion. He's a lizard boy, and his entire purpose in the story is to suck cock. Shang Tsung was actually the final boss of the last game, but in this game he's playable. He's also got a wicked awesome little beanie hat on, but you don't see anybody fucking talking about his. Baraka is probably the most original new character of Mortal Kombat 2, with his long arm blades and giant teeth that he will literally never use until like 11 installments into the series. Katana is probably the most innovative Mortal Kombat character of all time because they decided, let's make another blue ninja, but this one has a pussy. Mileena is just like Katana in every single way, except for one giant difference. She's a whore. And as for this next character,
Fried chicken, fried chicken, fried chicken. Yeah, we gon' fried chicken, fried chicken, fried chicken.
he's black. Yahoo! Now it's time to talk about the Boston's more than a feeling of Mortal Kombat games. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Since Mortal Kombat already checked the Bruce Lee ripoff off the list, they needed their token Native American character, and that's where Nightwolf steps in. which is really innovative because I can't think of any other fighting game that has a token Native American character like this. Good on Midway to be so original with this one. This is also the game that introduced the second Sub-Zero, the first Sub-Zero's younger brother. They also introduced this classic looking Sub-Zero, but they go out of their way in the story to tell you that this is not the original Sub-Zero. So if you're wondering what happened to the original Sub-Zero, chill out, dickwad, you'll figure that out when we get to Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Ermac is the fourth Scorpion palette swap in the series, and he's one of the coolest. Ermac is a lot like the cum of the Mortal Kombat universe. He's a collection of 1,000 different souls put into one person. Oh, he could also move shit with his brain.
That's telekinesis, Kyle!
Speaking of cum, Sindel is the first MILF of the Mortal Kombat universe, being the mother of Kitana and the wife of Shao Kahn. If you ever need to get out of a sticky situation, just do what Sindel does. This game introduced us to the Cyber Ninjas, Cyrax, Sector, and Smoke. Cyrax and Sector have the power of being uninteresting characters, but Smoke has the power of
smoking these meats.
Stryker is a guy with a gun and a backwards cap because he's hip and cool. If Johnny Cage was a cream fart character, Stryker is all cream and no fart. Gay Darth Vader is a clusterfuck of design choices. He has a breathing respirator, hook swords, and these wicked awesome parachute pants. Shiva is basically just a female Goro and Kintaro, who I'm just now realizing I forgot to mention in the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 segments. Goro, Kintaro, and Motaro are the sub-bosses of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, and their main goal is to be banging in my assholes. Shao Kahn is the mighty ruler of Outworld. He's also the proud owner of a pair of black boy shorts. Gay Scorpion is the result of Ed Boon listening to Prince on the radio and being like, Brain Blast! Noob Saibot is the original Sub-Zero from MK1, except now, he's a nigger! He's a nigger! Now we're getting to the cream of the crop of cream fart characters. Kai is basically just Black Liu Kang, and he's the first attempt out of many to replace Liu Kang as the main character of the series. Quan Chi is a new sorcerer they introduced in MK4 because apparently Shang Tsung wasn't cool enough. From this point forward, they would use Quan Chi as a get-out-of-jail-free card for any time they needed another character to have a motive to be in the tournament by making him the person that did them wrong. Shinnok is Quan Chi's daddy in this game. Not in the kind of way, but the kind of way. He was Mortal Kombat's first attempt at a villain outside of Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung, to mixed reception. Reiko gets a lot of shit for being Diet Shao Kahn, but I personally think he's pretty cool, being a general in both Shao Kahn and Shinnok's army. I think we could all agree he's a better Diet Shao Kahn than Jarek is a Diet Kano. I really don't get what the fuck they were trying to do with this character, besides give us probably the greatest ending of all time. Tanya is Quan Chi's bitch in this game, and throughout the entire series, she just kinda gets tossed around like a fucking used napkin. Who the fuck tosses around a used napkin? Now, what can I say that's interesting about Fujin? I'm a strong believer that the 3D era of Mortal Kombat games are some of the best games they've made. This game is not one of those games. Chub Fondue over here is supposed to be the guy that trained Liu Kang and Kung Lao to be the mighty warriors they are today. Apparently through the power of puke, farts, and jizz, he taught them how to become the protectors of Earthrealm. Li Mei is a bland and boring character not worth my time. Nitara is a bland and boring character not worth my time. Now Chris Angel's Mind Freak is the first guest character in Mortal Kombat history. He's got these wicked awesome bungee cords or whatever the fuck, and he wears cleats. This character is so fucking lame. Now Kenshi is hands down one of my favorite Mortal Kombat characters. If Ermac is the cum of the Mortal Kombat universe, Kenshi is definitely the baby that would come from that cum, seeing as Ermac trained Kenshi in his ways of telekinesis. Draman, much like your grandfather, is a decomposing body surrounded by flies. He gets a lot of hate, but I think his design is cool and I think he has potential as a character, even if he is just essentially a living foreskin. Su Hao is probably single-handedly the most hated Mortal Kombat character of all time, and not without good reason. He looks more like a male stripper than he does a Mortal Kombat character. You know you have a problem when it looks like you should be whipping out your cock instead of whipping your opponent. Frost is the arrogant student and protege of Sub-Zero. She's the second blue ninja with the pussy to grace the Mortal Kombat franchise.
I'm tired.
Now, unlike Deadly Alliance, I absolutely love this game. The only glaring issue is that every single new character except for one is completely fucking bland and boring. Unlike Li Mei and Nitara from the last game, I'm gonna have to talk about them. Kira is Midway's third attempt at trying to replace Kano with some other random Black Dragon fucking goon. It's almost like they knew Kano was a shitty character, so they had to shit out even shittier characters to be his underlings to make him look good. Speaking of shitty underlings from the Black Dragon clan, Cobra's a fucking character. Karate Owen Wilson over here has basic fire powers and
He looks like a 50-year-old retired skateboarder.
Darius is actually a pretty cool looking character, but much like every other character in this game, they do absolutely nothing with him. He serves little to no purpose at all, and his story is not memorable whatsoever, even to a humongous fucking Mortal Kombat nerd like me. Speaking of not memorable whatsoever, Dairo is a character that I remember absolutely nothing about. I literally just can't be fucked to give you any details about this man. Normally people do research for videos like this, but I'm too much of a prideful asshole to admit that I need to do research for a Mortal Kombat video, but Dairo, I just draw a fucking blank. Ashura, in terms of her personal story, is actually a very interesting character, but much like everybody else, they do absolutely dick with her. She's basically like a female version of Blade, but instead of being a vampire, she's a demon from the Netherrealm who hunts other demons. She's a character that really did deserve better than what they gave her. Speaking of completely underutilized characters, Havik is probably one of the absolute best characters of the 3D era, right next to Kenshi. He's a cleric from the Chaos Realm whose only purpose is to cause chaos among all the realms. I know I said back in MK3 that Cabal was a clusterfuck of design choices, but Havik is truly the king of a clusterfuck of design choices. Half of his face is a fucking skull. You could see one of his nipples. One arm has a sleeve, one arm doesn't. He carries a fucking mace. He wears this weird crown thingy. His hair's in a bun, and my god, do I fucking love it. Much like your emo stepson, he mutilates himself to attack his enemies. But unlike your emo stepson, his mutilation actually serves a purpose, and his enemies aren't people online saying My Chemical Romance is a cocksuck band. On the opposite side of the spectrum from Havik, we have Hotaru, a military officer from Order Realm, whose main purpose is to keep order across all the realms. You could really tell the 3D era was the era that John Tobias left the team, because most of the new characters from Deadly Alliance onwards are just like, duh, this is the good guy, and his purpose is to do the good things, and this is the bad guy who do bad. That fucking classic Ed Boon writing. And finally we have Shujinko, the second attempt to replace Liu Kang as a main character. Deception was the first game in the series that introduced Conquest mode, and Shujinko was the main character of that mode. Without the context of Conquest mode, Shujinko is just an old man with everybody else's powers. But within Conquest mode, we get to see Shujinko from a young boy growing to an old man, developing and honing his skills to defeat the final boss of this game, Onaga. Now if Shao Kahn is the big bad daddy of the Mortal Kombat universe, Onaga's your fucking granddad, with the scaly skin to prove it. Onaga is actually a breath of fresh air in terms of a replacement for Shao Kahn. He doesn't get as much screen time as I'd like, but in terms of design and story, he's pretty fucking cool. But nowhere near as cool as Apep.
The next class is beyond this bridge.
Mamma mia!
Well, holy son of a cuck, Batman. Look at that giant roster. Don't get too excited, this game only has 2 new characters, but first let's talk about some of the characters from past games that I forgot to mention along the way. Chameleon is the result of a Mortal Kombat Ninja gangbang. He was introduced all the way back in Mortal Kombat Trilogy as a secret character. He serves no purpose to the story and has no backstory himself. He's kinda just there to be a fan service character. Chameleon, with a K, is a female version of Chameleon, and unlike her male counterpart, she actually has a backstory for some reason, being a member of the Sauron race, the same race as Reptile. I know I made fun of Frost for being Sub-Zero with tits, but this is literally just a flat-out female version of a male character for the sole purpose of being a female version of a male character. Meat was introduced in MK4, but in MK4 he really wasn't even a character, he was more of a skin that every character had. They made him a full-fledged character in this game for the sole purpose of padding out the fucking character roster. Much like how I'm padding out this section of the video by mentioning characters like Meat. Mocap is a comic relief character who debuted in Deadly Alliance as a secret character. Mocap is proof that Mortal Kombat fans have their heads so fucking far up their asses that they take a joke character seriously. I understand the hate for Su Hao because they wanted you to take him seriously, but this character is legit just a reference to Carlos Messina, the fucking actual mocap person that brings you these games, and you guys responded with a dick in their mouth. Wholeheartedly, go fuck yourself for hating this character. Serena was introduced in Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero as an unplayable side character. She made her playable debut in the Game Boy Advanced version of Deadly Alliance, but this is her playable debut in a game that people actually played. Originally, much like Tanya, she was one of Quan Chi's bitches, until he got cucked by Sub-Zero. Taven and Dagon were the new protagonist and antagonist of this game. They're the son of the Elder Gods Argus and Delia, making them demigods. They're pretty cool in concept, and honestly, their story is really underrated. Taven was really the first attempt at replacing Liu Kang that was somewhat successful in my opinion. We'll most likely never see these two ever again because Ed Boon grazes his nuts upon the 3D era of games. While Dagon was the antagonist of the story, the big bad boss of the game is Blaze, a character who technically made his playable debut in Deadly Alliance as a secret character. But in this game, he becomes something completely different, and honestly, this is probably one of the most genius ideas they ever had. Because if you go all the way back to MK2 on the Pit 2 stage, where you see a guy in the background who's on fire, that's Blaze. That minuscule background character that served no purpose all the way back then becomes the most important final boss of the story, at least up to this point. But in true Ed Boon fashion, they fucked it up when they made him the final boss. I ran out of Mario 64 sound effects. If you ever wanted the mental image of your favorite Mortal Kombat characters sucking down a couple of Doers waters and fucking each other, this is the game that does it for you. Enter the Combat Kids. Let's start with Cream Fart Cage. She's the daughter of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. She has the boring blandness of her mother and the unlikable personality of her father. Like Ed Boon was having a little crank down watching Miley Cyrus shake that little pussy, and he was like, you know what? This is the source of inspiration for the next major character in my game. In the 3D era, they came up with all these bland and boring characters, but for the next generation, they decided to up the ante by making the bland and boring characters related to classic characters. Jackie Briggs is the perfect example of this. She is literally the Mortal Kombat equivalent of an unsalted cracker.
Gay!
Takeda is admittedly the least cream fart out of all the Combat Kids. With them making him the son of Kenshi and trained by Scorpion, you could just sense the tryhard of how much they wanted you to like this character. Now that we've covered the trash, let's cover the actual shit. Ferritor took the silent giant brute character and the annoying little girl character and mixed them into one to make the ultimate 2 for the price of 1 cocksuck charactered combo. In 10 years, I could definitely see them being looked back on the same way Dairo and Kira is looked back on now.
Nobody even wants you here.
Aaron Black is literally just a stereotypical cowboy character and people eat his dick for it. This is just another bland and boring character, but my hatred for him stems more from the people that play him more than his actual character. Ogre's first appearance was in Tekken 3. He's the ancient god of fighting and he's one of my personal favorite Tekken characters.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And now we're finally caught up to Mortal Kombat 11. Due to fatigue of making this fucking video, these are going to be pretty brief. For the sake of context, it makes the most sense to introduce Kronika first. Kronika is the big bad of MK11, and she's the ultimate retcon machine. She can bend the sands of time, and apparently she's been there since the beginning of the Mortal Kombat lore, manipulating the events of each game to lead up to the same conclusion, even though the conclusion she leads these games to has only happened twice, and only in the rebooted timeline and not the original one. Cause you know, Ed Boon writing. Speaking of characters that are just thrown at the original timeline but are never mentioned, we have Collector. He's got 6 arms and he likes stealing people's shoes. That's pretty much his whole character.
Give me the Tims. Give me the Tims. Give me the Tims right now.
Not the Timbs.
Damn, this nigga done took the Timbs, man! This nigga just deadass took a nigga's Timbs!
Garrus is the servant of Kronika and the unkillable time nigga. He's extremely unique in gameplay, design, and story, but for some reason I find myself not giving a single fuck about him. And finally, our final character. Centurion, I want to be done making this video, alright, bye. And that concludes my video about every Mortal Kombat character. I have a couple of funny gameplay videos of Tekken. Go watch those, they're better than this video. Forgot to talk about Jade. Fuck it, man.
Let's get some pussy tonight.